Hello everyone, Andrew here, and another season of anime is well on its way, so I thought now would be a great time to talk about what I'm watching this season. Winter 2022 may not be packed full of amazing shows, but it does have a few great ones. It also has a healthy amount of garbage fantasy that I'm enjoying / hating every minute of, so let's talk about Winter 2022. I might as well start with the most watched show of the season, which is of course Attack on Titan, the final season, part 2. I don't know how Attack on Titan does it, but whenever it is airing, it's always the most hyped show of the season. And as we come closer to the end of the story, I think it will only increase. My only guess on how the show pulls this off is the fact that every season offers us something different. The first season starts off basically as a horror show before moving to flesh mecha fights. The next seasons add mystery and political intrigue, and now here at the end, it is a war between two nations. Each stage of the series is so interesting that you don't even notice when it changes. I kept up with the manga back when it was publishing, but even so, I look forward to watching the show every week. If you haven't watched any of the show yet, I think it's definitely worth the Crunchyroll subscription to catch up on it. From one of the best shows I'm watching this season to most definitely the worst, we have She Professed Herself People of the Wise Man. This show is the trashiest of trash isekais. We have the classic trapped in a video game setting, and of course our MC was one of the most powerful wizards in the game, but to really add that extra trash flavor, wouldn't you know it, but he accidentally transformed himself into a little girl. I assume this is because of the fear of copyright infringement if they had their character just be Gandalf the Grey for the whole show. And that is not just a joke. The synopsis literally says he's based off of Gandalf the Grey, or hints at it at the very least. Anyway, this is just another trash power fantasy show that we have all seen a dozen times. So, of course, I'm watching it. A show that is still airing from last season, Ranking of Kings, is still running strong. I talked about the show a bit in the previous video, but as it's amazing and this is my YouTube channel, I'm going to talk about it again. This show is the dictionary definition of don't judge a book by its cover. It may look like a kid's show, but it has some dark things that happen in this anime. I mean, not Made in Abyss dark, but still pretty dark. The story follows Boji, the extremely weak and deaf first prince of the kingdom. But Boji doesn't let that stop him from dreaming big and working towards his goal. Each character has more depth than their appearance may have you think, and I can't wait to see how everything progresses. My Dress Up Darling is a manga I recently released a video on, and the anime does not disappoint. I absolutely loved the manga, and to see it turned into an anime brings me a lot of joy. Marin is most definitely the best waifu of the season, and my man Gojo has no idea how to handle that. The show follows the two as Gojo makes cosplay and Marin wears it. We see as the relationship develops from barely acquaintances to very close friends, which for someone like Marin is extremely quickly. We get to join in as they walk the path of cosplay, and I love every minute of it. But I also knew this show was going to have a lot of controversy, as it's an ecchi show with underage girls. I think it's important to remember though that these are drawings, and it's very hard for someone developed like Marin to be a child. This is a classic case of the author making adult and then just giving them some bullshit young age for the setting. Because neither of our MCs look or even act their age. I think this is a great show that everyone should be watching this season. I highly recommend it. The lolly could be a problem though. How a Realistic Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom Season 2 is another fantasy isekai I'm watching this season. I talked about the first season a few videos ago, so I'll keep this short. It is funny, it can be cute, and I enjoy watching it. I saw it 6 or 7 out of 10 depending on your taste. So if you need something else to watch this season, this might be a good option. But be sure to tell me what you think down in the comments. The Genius Prince's Guide to Raising a Nation Out of Debt at first glance looks a lot like the last show, but there are a few differences. Firstly, this is not an isekai, just a fantasy, which may not seem like a selling point, but if you know anything about the last 10 years of anime, then you know a show not being an isekai is totally a point in its favor. Also, instead of our MC trying to pull their nation out of debt for some moral reason, this man does it because he wants to sell the nation to its larger neighbor. This is so he can live a nice, lazy life. He repeatedly tries to lose battles with minimum losses, but everything just keeps going right for him and he gets major victory after major victory. I think it's also important to know that the title of this show is true. He is a genius. He just really wants a lazy life. If it wasn't for the fact that he's tall, handsome, a prince, a genius, and he has an attractive woman by his side, we would basically be the same person. Arifurete second season is also airing. This one is another power fantasy isekai that is as trashy as they come. I read a bit of the original light novel a few years back, so I knew what I was getting into when the first season aired several seasons back. But man, did it still surprise me with how far it is willing to go. And this season is the same. I get the show has a following, and I assume it must be selling at least some merch, but I don't get how this show got a second season. I've seen dozens of other shows more deserving of a second season and didn't get it, but somehow this show did. But whatever. All that being said, I'm still watching it. Now, is it because I like trash, or is it because there's something about this show that keeps you coming back? I can't say. but it's probably the trash, so let's move on. The last of the trash is the strongest sage with the weakest crest. This show is about an extremely strong sage from the past that reincarnates so he could change what crest he had. You see, everyone in this world has a crest that skews their ability one way or the other. This guy lived his first life with one that he felt didn't really match him, so he killed himself so he could switch. Now, a couple thousand years into the future, he has the crest he wants, but some enemies from the past have reappeared. Magical knowledge in this world has also decreased by a lot since his time. This show is not super interesting, and its love story seems to be just a reskin of the sage's grandson, but with everything else on this list, I can't help but watch it. Lastly, we come to Demon Slayer, the only show on this list that can come even close to competing with Attack on Titan when it comes to hype. This show is currently covering its Entertainment District arc from the manga. If you have watched the first season but dropped it before you finish, then I want to say, I get it. At the start of the story of this show, it is much closer to a Monster of the Week style show, and certainly loses some people. But once you get into some of the serious fights of the show, it is hard to take your eyes off of it. And this new season keeps that up as we follow around another Hashira. We see more awesome fights, funny dialogue, and best of all, we get to see more of the adorable Nezuko. I think the show can and will stand shoulder to shoulder with Attack on Titan when people think back on the two. So if you haven't already been watching it, be sure to catch up on it. Alright, that's it for the video this week. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Thanks for watching.